everyone, my name is Amber. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be reviewing Teen Wolf, the movie. I semi-liked the TV show. I think that it was unique in that it kind of did its own thing, but I kind of had to put in the back of my mind um, that it was gonna kind of be all over the place because that's kind of what they did. It was good and like Tyler Posey, Tyler Hoechlin, great actors. Tyler Hoechlin is Superman and is amazing at it. TV show though, I felt didn't follow particular storylines very well. um Obviously it was one thing after the other, as is with most supernatural TV shows. But certain characters would just kind of disappear or never come back, never be mentioned. Just became very random. I remember like the first season, it kind of followed a storyline, like, and it followed it well. I think like Scott's relationship with Allison and everything, it just really anchored the show, and everything ran smoothly. And then the show became kind of like sarcastic and witty and funny. There's nothing wrong with that. Um, but then things just kind of started happening all over the place. And it was entertaining to watch, but there was no particular plot, and I kind of stopped being invested in a certain plot because I knew that it would probably not continue or unravel in some way. That being said, the movie I kind of expected to be the same thing, if not something a little bit different. It became a larger scale thing, and it felt like a larger scale thing. But I kind of miss those like intimate moments when we were like on the field, playing lacrosse. Like we were at like a college now, and I don't even know really why we were at the college, but again, it was a little random. Um, but I kind of just miss those things that kind of made it Teen Wolf, and the things that I did enjoy about Teen Wolf. Um, for some reason, I thought Isaac was gonna be in this movie, but he's not. I really liked Isaac, and he's one of those characters that just kind of like disappeared, which I don't understand because he was living with Scott. So how did he just disappear? I don't know. But I would have really liked if they had a little bit more consistency with the relationships in this movie. Everyone broke up with everybody. Lydia was no longer with Stiles. Scott was no longer with Malia or Kira or anybody. But he still loved Allison, and I kind of wanted to see like how he knew he still loved Allison, because it kind of was just like, I still love you, and I'm like, how do you what led us here? I mean, in the beginning we kind of like open up Scott, and he's like helping this kid, and he just saved her. Like apparently he does like 911 calls now. The vet, they call him in, and he comes to, like, they're in Los Angeles now. He comes to the aid of, I guess it's a firefighter who is trying to save the girl that's trapped with the dog, and the dog bit him. So therefore he calls a vet to help him. This is something I've never heard of. And then he's like, hold on, I have something better. I can one up you. He's like, we call him the Alpha, and I'm like, cringe, cringe, here we go. Um, and so then Scott is just over here, shows his red eyes. This movie, he is particularly like very like, he has this power over like dogs. And I don't remember that from the first series. When did he become the dog whisperer? I don't know. And then he just go, oh, it's just okay. And he's living in LA. Good for him, you know. Apparently his relationship with Malia didn't work out. Um, it was just kind of random and thrown at the end of the season, to be honest. So I didn't think it was gonna go anywhere, but he didn't have Allison. I don't know what happened to Kira. So that's just kind of what happened. And then I don't like that they didn't explain exactly what happened. They were like just nervous to be around each other. And the thing is, Malia, like, she was kind of random in that, like, you know, she had been a coyote for most of her youth. Um, and so, like, you know, she, like, says things, like, rather impulsively and everything. But I think she kind of grew into, like, figuring out who she was, and she wasn't as impulsive about at the end of the season. And then in this movie, they made her much more like how she was before. So I didn't really like Malia in this movie, and she's with Parrish now, and I'm like, these people, like, everyone ends up with everyone. Lydia was with Parrish, and then she was with Styles, and Styles was with Malia, and then Malia was with Scott, and now he's with um. I, they're just with everybody. Derek has a kid. Who's the mom? I don't know. But apparently, like, Scott, they saw him when he was a baby, and so I'm like, you must know who the mom is, right? And then Peter was just kind of roaming around, and then they all just kind of show up. I would think that Peter would cause a little bit more trouble in their lives and not just kind of show up randomly, but that's what happens, you know, when things start going crazy, they just show up. And then we have Lydia, who hasn't, like, used her powers in years. And she's like this, like, big time kind of like business lady. We didn't get to see too much into that, and I wanted to, because, like, it just seemed like, you know, she was making it for herself, and then you're like, where's Styles? Obviously he was not gonna be in this movie, but I would think that they would mention something about him. And they did. That's, I think, the only thing that was consistent. Like, they mentioned him, they talked about him, they, like, kind of hinted that, like, he was doing stuff, or and about the breakup and stuff. And that was the only plot, like, that was, like, concrete in this. Um, and you know what? It's Teen Wolf. Like, it's okay. Like, I didn't expect there to be concrete plots, so I'm happy I got that. Um, and then we have what's his name? Mason. I don't know if he's still with that one guy. I think he was supposedly gonna get another love interest, but I didn't see that. And he's a police officer. Good for him. I don't know what they're still doing in Beacon Hills. Um, and didn't supposedly, like, at the end of the season, like, everyone knew that werewolves existed, and, like, they were hunting them down and everything in Beacon Hills and all this stuff. It kind of felt like that never happened. Like, when I know Coach, like, is a bad example, because I think he, like, accepted Scott even though he was a werewolf. But, like, if they see these people that, like, ran away from town years later, like, wouldn't they ask questions? Because they saw them transform. Like, I don't understand that. And what happened to that one girl that was hunting them? And then it just, there's so much inconsistencies. But apparently, the mummy dude, I hated him in, like, the original, like, series, like, because it just I hate it when they bring a character that is, like, impossible to kill, like this villain that's impossible to kill. And so no matter what they do, this thing doesn't die, and it keeps coming back, and he keeps doing all these weird things that seem impossible. It's like, how is he still alive? And okay, this guy's back because he was released from this box that was in this food place. And couldn't anybody have accidentally opened that box? And then I don't remember if he was a bug, but he was a bug. And then somehow he found his way into Argent, which is weird. So Argent, the thing in Argent, I think, is what, like, wanted Allison to come back, because then that's how he would come back and go into the, like, Nematon. I guess it was activated and it would, like, awaken everything, and then he could make Allison um do, like, things. And then it was also, like, a plus because he wanted Allison to kill Scott, and then for Scott to die in her arms, like, the reverse of what happened, but it was the, what were they called? The Oi? I don't know what they're called. They sh- she got stabbed by one. It wasn't Scott that killed her. So that was just weird. And it to play a certain way, where like that was like the final move, and it was like the most crazy move that you could ever do. And I'm like, and then even Peter was saying it. I'm just like, how is this like the move that's gonna be like the ultimate move where Scott like dies in Allison's arms? Like, you could still defeat the guy, like, you know, like I don't understand, like, it's not gonna be the end of the world, it'll be the end of Scott. um Lydia breaking up with Styles because of a dream. I wanted to know more about that. We got so much. It was a concrete plot, and then we were just like, okay, I guess we're left to assume that she went back to him, because then she ended up screaming again and everything was all good. She brought back Allison's memories. And I don't understand why she woke up and like that's the first thing she remembered was killing werewolves, when she never actually did that. She was like just a regular teenager, and that was not something that she just kind of like did since she was younger. So I don't understand why that was the first thing that she remembered. Maybe the guy, the mummy thing, put like the memories in. I don't know how it worked. And then Parrish, I wanted him to do more. He kind of just like burned things. The sheriff was great. Arjun was great. And there was a lot more kitsunes in this movie. And I don't know. Like, I thought they were supposed to be kind of rare, but they're not. They were just kind of all over the place. I guess it makes sense in the sense that when this mummy thing was about, there was Kira who was the kitsune, and that's why the whole samurai thing was happening, and like all that stuff. Scott's mom and Argent, who were a thing, like then like it was awkward for them seeing each other again, and then that was never talked about. My all these potentially great couples, just nah. One guy, Liam, he was dating a new girl. I don't know what happened with the other girl. Little Derek couldn't transform because he was scared, and it was just like, oh, Styles' car apparently, even though it was given to Scott, they like decided to like give it to Derek to like fix it, and it kind of stayed there. So it was him who, like, it was little Derek that ended up having like the car at the end and everything. And yeah, there's just so many more questions and inconsistencies. But that's Teen Wolf. And then Derek, okay, the reason he died was because someone needed to hold the mummy guy, who apparently is a werewolf because apparently Scott bit him. But I'm like, if you're already one supernatural thing, can't you not? But okay, then Malia is also like a were coyote, and that didn't make sense to me. But okay, so he's holding him, and he's like, I can't let him go, and Parrish needs to burn him and everything. But then he lets him go to push Scott, and Parrish is doing perfectly fine. So couldn't Parrish just burn him, and then bada bing, bada boom, it would have been all done? So I don't understand why he had to die, and everybody was watching and sad and everything. And then Lydia was supposed to be like the like main like component of this thing too, because like her sorrow, her of like being a banshee and like breaking up with Styles was like this really big thing. And they were gonna use her for something, but then they never used her for something. And then we have the teacher from like the first season. He's there, and he's a big thing, and he's the one who brought like back the mummy thing. I thought it was action wise a fairly good movie. I think Teen Wolf, like in general, always had good action scenes. I think it was the Allison plot that really got me watching it, and then like what happened with Styles and Lydia. Like, that was what I was invested in, because like I think they did those things fairly well. And what was happening to Allison, even though there was like things that didn't quite make sense. Um, I was just happy to see her back. I liked her as a character, and I knew that she was going to potentially end up with Scott, and I kind of wanted to see how that happened. Um, and how she gained her memory back, and her relationship with Lydia was always so great. So I just want to see those things, and I think they did those well. But I think that in terms of explaining things through, I think the whole Styles and Lydia thing was the best they did with that. But yeah, those are my thoughts. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see y'all real soon. Bye.